Marvel Avengers Infinity War, kekuatan baru telah tiba.
Iron Man locked and loaded.
Tukar bagian dari 6 power packs dengan Titan figures yang sesuai untuk menghidupkan pahlawan favorit kalian.
won't change a thing now, there was never trust. Don't you say a word, cause I've heard it all. You were just pain when you felt it all. Something tells me that I won't miss it. It's the first time that we can't fix it. It's irreversible damage done. The thrill is gone. Ooh, baby, I ain't nobody like you. You chose to keep the truth inside. Ooh, baby, gave my all to you. All you did was tell me lies. Something tells me that I won't miss it. It's the first time that we can't fix it. It's irreversible damage done. The thrill is gone. Thrill is gone.
Broadcast hype.
Once you leave me, it's over. No turning back.
I'm excited.
Don't you come running back down.
My new segment.
I'm not a home for the shame.
Check that it is this screen. But I think that's what the people want. I think that's, I've polled the audience and everyone's very interested in who actual good players have muted if you've ever played with these guys.
Okay, let's start with FlyToMoon, shall we? I think I had Iceberg, Always Wanna Fly, and No Fear muted. Not necessarily because they're cancerous, but because they tend to speak a lot of Russian in my games. And since I don't speak Russian, it's not very useful for me to listen to them. So,
That makes sense.
as for Empire, I think I had only FN muted. And I think that pretty much speaks for itself because he's widely known as a player that is, let's say, difficult to play with at times.
Guys, I'm not here to make judgments. I'm just here to give you the behind-the-scenes truth. Some say it might be unprofessional, but I say it's too late. It's already done. We already did it. And now we have a draft. So we have ourselves an early Tree and Protector ban. Nature's Prophet taking the hit early on as well, though I would say nowadays that's more or less justified. Nature's Prophet as an offlaner, or I guess as a solo laner, and as support is kind of taking off.
It's quite interesting because Team Empire hasn't really played that much Nature's Prophet recently. Only 4 games in the last 3 months, so maybe they know something from scrims that I don't, but it's an interesting ban for sure. As for the other bans, it's pretty basic aside from the Treant, because we also haven't seen that much Treant yet. But once again, these teams, they tend to scrim each other a lot, so they know which kind of heroes the other teams play. The Omni Knight, Razor, Tiny, and Bounty are pretty run-of-the-mill though. These are just really strong, versatile heroes.
I feel like there's, I mean, from my perspective, I don't actually know to what scale scrims are actually being played. I assume it's, fairly often, but it's like, there's always going to be those things where it's like, I have no idea where that's coming from, but it must have been because they saw it, they practiced against it or whatever, so... yeah, we'll probably just chalk it up to that, but this is a little bit of an interesting start. FlyToMoon have a pretty vanilla opening. Rubik and Tusk is fine. Sand King with a very early Leshrac pick for the Empire stun. For the Empire side, stun into stun, always going to be very useful, and man, SK Leshrac, that combo goes back, man, like goes way back.
Yeah, it just gives very good ganking potential in the early game. You just have to set up for a mid, and then Lesh finishes it off, and that's how you just easily score kills.
5 seconds remaining.
Sometimes you need 2 heroes to rotate, but if you have an SK and a Leshrac mid, it opens up a lot of the map for the other support.
Is it gonna put Leshrac though in a little bit of risk being up against Tusk and Rubik? Like, Tusk is just generally one of these heroes that if he really wants to, can just sit on your mid lane and make sure that your mid lane doesn't get anything. And Leshrac is not really with that many tools to answer that. So is that at all a concern if you're Team Empire? It's how do we make sure that our Leshrac doesn't get constantly jacked up by this support duo?
Yeah, I think it might turn out to be a problem. Tusk against an immobile hero like Leshrac is always really scary. But FN is a very experienced mid player, so I wouldn't expect him to keep dying. Maybe once or twice if he gets caught off guard. But it's tough always playing against the Tusk.
Especially when you have Rubik there to ensure that you are staying in those shards. I mean, you get trapped, walk around, and then suddenly you're lifted and you have to walk around all over again. You know, we've seen heroes like Shadow Fiend, probably like, you know, the most classic example of like Shadow Fiend Tusk. You just get that shard to land, get a couple of raises to land, and you just annihilate whoever's in there. Even if it is going to be one of the quote-unquote tankier mid lane heroes like Viper, they just take a absolute ton of damage. DK is going to be banned out for that mid lane for right now, but other than that, looks like Dark Will actually getting banned out rather late, but it is just going to be your pretty classic carries to be taken out. Lifestealer is, man, absolutely aces up against both Leshrac and Sand King, so that's, you know, completely justified.
I understand the Lifestealer ban, but the DK ban is a bit curious to me, because I think Lesh has a pretty good matchup against that hero. But I think they might be anticipating some pushing, so I guess that's why they banned it.
It doesn't seem like FlyToMoon are... I mean, again, it might be coming down to like their past history, the scrim, but Rubik Tusk doesn't really lend itself, at least in my eyes, to any sort of suddenly aggressive pushing draft. There's always the possibility. You don't really need that many specific heroes to push very well, but Rubik Tusk seems a little bit control-y to me, a little bit slower.
That's very true. However, no cores have been picked yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rubik and Tusk fit into a lot of lineups. Team fight, pushing, it doesn't really matter. They can just do so much. Just secure the early game, and if you have pushing cores, you should still be able to make something like that happen.
It's pretty good spells to steal as well. Split Earth on Rubik is actually kind of sweet. Especially if you're used to playing it with Leshrac, then it's like, wow, this is the most amazing thing in the world. But now we got a Nyx Assassin from FlyToMoon, so even more control, and probably just one of the big answers that FlyToMoon are going to pick up as far as dealing with that Leshrac. A hero that tends to get pretty bulky, but you know, is still going to be not invulnerable, or very rarely invulnerable in these games. So getting that mana burn, getting that initiation off for FlyToMoon looks like maybe setting up for a little more of a kind of a tempo-y draft.
It's also very nice for Vision, because the SK around the 20-minute mark is gonna go looking for kills with his blink. If you can scout him out, you can waste so much of his time. I really like this Nyx pick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really see them... I mean, they definitely need to pick up, like, some sort of reward for that scouting, right? Because they just have the vision of the Nyx, but they don't have, like, a Storm Spirit or a Nature's Prophet or a Lifestealer Bomb to really capitalize on that. So what is going to be that hero? Or do they even pick up a hero like that?
I think they're gonna pick a greedy hero in the mid and the safe lane, because they have 3 space-making heroes so far. They need something to absorb that space. And they need something that can actually deal with Void and his Chrono. So which heroes would that be?
That's a very specific hero. There's a good amount of AoE. CK seems like only whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick CK against Sand King Leshrac. I think they need a tanky hero for sure, and one mobile hero. Oh, that's somewhere in between, OD.
Yeah. It's a hero that can definitely make use of extra space given to him. A farmed OD is absolutely nuts. And getting that in prison, actually, up against Empire, saving your allies or even yourself from this huge amount of control that Empire have. The defensive aspect of OD is going to be pretty important here for FlyToMoon.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Iceberg likes playing it a lot. Right up his alley.
No, that was the pick. Why didn't Wraith?
I don't know if they play it. It's not every carry player plays Sven.